Hello everyone, this is Tony Matersky, and today we're going to cover how to apply CSS changes to a Visualforce page that's been made by SkyVisualEditor. So as you can see, we have a Visualforce page that I've created on the center of the screen. It's rendered inside of Salesforce, and it looks very different from the standard Salesforce pages that you've seen. So on here we have a couple of blue banner changes with some white bold lettering. We have mouse over colors that happen that are different from the Salesforce colors. We have this darker mouse over color for fields. We even have the tabs rendered as gray when they're inactive or blue whenever you select an active tab. And so all of these changes are made via CSS. Now, if you're comfortable with CSS, and this is all going to seem pretty straightforward and very basic. If you're not comfortable with CSS, that is a language that is a third-party language. It's nothing to do with Salesforce, nothing to do with SkyVisualEditor. It's a language that affects the styling of all web pages. Now, let's cover some basics. When you're applying CSS to a Visualforce page, you must apply it to the HTML code that is rendered after the Visualforce page has been turned into HTML. So let's take a step back. When you're creating Visualforce pages, you have the different apex tags, the Visualforce code that you create, and this allows you to create the layout and the structure of the pages. When Salesforce actually displays those Visualforce pages, they convert that Visualforce code into HTML tags. And the post deployment HTML tags, the rendered HTML, is what you need to modify when you're working with CSS. Okay, so that's what we need to keep in mind. I use a tool called Firebug to take a look at the CSS and the HTML tags that have been applied to a page. And to show you what I mean, we can take a look at like the leads page real quick. We'll just go into one of these lead records. This is a standard Salesforce page. So if I right click on something and then select inspect element with Firebug, it's actually going to show me all of the HTML, and on the right hand side it's going to show me all of the styling that goes into that particular page. Okay, so let me just hide that for a second, and let's go back to the accounts. So in this particular example, this is again the Visualforce page that we've made, and now I want to style it to show however I want. So I use Firebug because it makes it really simple and easy to work with. And let's say that I want the account information page block header to be black. Okay, so I have right-clicked it, I've selected it, and I notice that the element style is this dark blue color. So in Firebug, I can get a preview of what it looks like to change this. So I can change this over to a black there, and notice at the top, the account information section is now black. Okay, so I know now which CSS elements to modify to actually get that change. Now, since I'm using Firebug, it doesn't actually affect the page right now. So if I just refresh this page, that change goes away. But it does give you an example of what it would look like post CSS modification. So I'm actually going to add all of this CSS onto a page to produce the page that you saw. So if you notice, I have one CSS element in here called rich-tab-inactive. And this is where I set up the tab color's background to be that dark gray color. I set up the font color to be black, and the border color around those tabs to be black as well. Whereas the active one is this blue color with white font that's been bolded, and it has black borders around that as well. So this is just an example of some CSS that's been added. Now let's actually show that in SkyVisualEditor. So here's the page that we've made, and I want to apply that CSS. There's one thing I need to point out is that CSS does not render inside of SkyVisualEditor because we're working with the Visualforce, and the HTML that Salesforce renders is what's going to be affected. So we don't actually show you that here. However, if you go to the Page tab and go to the right-hand side, there's a section called Page Style. Click Edit Page Style, and here I've added in all of that CSS onto the canvas. So this is where you add it to do inline editing. And all of that is going to go in the header of the page that's created. So that'll all be there. You can also include a third-party sheet by referencing the URL for it, adding that in here. So you can simply click Add, reference where that's located, and then you can have a third-party page that you maintain. The other thing I should point out is that if you wanted a particular field, as an example, to have some styling on its own, you have the IDs that are available through CSS and the actual HTML. You can also apply a specific style class to it. So if you want to add a style class of your own and call it something unique, you can do that here as well in that property. So again, if you're familiar with CSS, this all probably seemed very basic. If you're not familiar with CSS, take some time to go Google some tutorials on CSS editing, and this will make a lot more sense. Thanks for watching.